Nothing about that night was normal. When I was 18 or 19, a friend from high school and I moved to Jacksonville, Florida. We settled into the heart of the city just a few blocks from the Blue Bridge downtown. One night, my friend and I decided to get on some friend-making apps in an effort to meet some locals and start up a new friend circle in the community. Most of the people on these apps were either way out of our parameters for what an ideal friend might have looked like to us, or didn't seem to be truly looking for strictly a friendship. After some time of searching around, we did find that there were some people on there that seemed genuine and like they could be a good match. We both had talked to one of the guys there separately from different phones to sort of test the waters a bit, to get two perspectives on this guy before deciding if meeting him was a good idea. Both of us had positive experiences and ultimately decided to give him a shot. He wasn't terribly far from where we were staying, maybe 20 minutes. A little further than was ideal, but he seemed pretty chill. He didn't have a vehicle and said he stayed with his parents. We made plans for me and my friend to go pick him up from his house later that same day, and we'd come back to our place and have some drinks and shoot the shit. Nothing too crazy, no big plans. Just wanted to chill. She takes forever to get ready to go anywhere, so by the time we got to heading over to his place to pick him up, it was already nightfall, which wasn't inherently a bad thing. I mean, we didn't have jobs or any other obligations at the time, so it didn't really matter. When we get to the address, it's like we were in a whole new town, like a whole new world almost. It was outside of the major parts of the city, but it was so weird because at one moment the streets were well lit and there was lots of traffic and people outside and all that, to the next moment it was completely vacant. No people, no houses, not even street lights. I missed the turn into his driveway the first go-round because I literally could hardly see anything. I turned around and immediately my heart sank. The driveway was hardly a driveway. It barely stood out against the overgrowth of the land. The fence was all busted up and falling apart, and I couldn't see a house anywhere. I kept following the driveway because on the maps we could see that the location he sent us was a bit away from the road. The driveway was long and took a sharp turn after about 500 feet. It was pitch black, and the gravel was basically non-existent at this point, and started to turn into more of like a sludgy mud trap. So I parked in the middle of the driveway, and me and my friend were contemplating if this was a bad idea or if we were just being dramatic. We laughed at ourselves, and I decided to text him that we were here, or that we thought we were, and wanted to make sure we were at the right place before anything else. We waited for a few minutes, and I could see almost right away that he viewed the message I'd sent, but he didn't reply. A few more minutes passed, and he still didn't reply. So we said, fuck it, and decided that this was too weird, and we'd just go back home and call it a loss. I started to make a 3-point turn when something thumped the back of my car. The car I had then didn't have a backup camera, so I didn't have any visuals. I'm thinking I hit a fence or a tree or something. Me and my friend were looking all around the car trying to see what it was, but there was nothing. I pulled forward and reversed again. Then my friend screamed at the top of her lungs, and I almost jumped out of my skin. I was like, "What? Why are you screaming?" And she just points and stares out the window. I follow her eyes and flinch when I see a man standing right outside the window. A big smile and these thick glasses with a turtleneck and pastel blue shorts that were pulled up to basically his neckline. Not really. They were like up way high above his hips and belted so tight. It looked awful and super uncomfortable. I cracked the window when I recognized that it was the guy we'd been trying to meet. I just awkwardly laughed and said, "I didn't see you there." Then he just starts pulling on the door handle to the passenger seat, the one my friend is clearly sitting in. The doors were still locked, so of course the door didn't open. But I was like, hey, just hop in the back. And I unlocked the doors. Then he disappeared behind the car. I looked at my friend and was just like, what the... Then the door behind me opens and he gets in on that side. Why he didn't get in on the side he was already on is beyond me, but whatever. Maybe he had a good reason. Maybe it was just that he was a little awkward. Well, we found out soon that he was indeed awkward. Very awkward. When he'd gotten in, he was heavily winded, just breathing really hard and laughing like, not to be offensive, but like how a stereotypical nerdy dude would laugh. Throaty and nasally. Me and my friend were being casual, and I eventually said, damn man, it's fucking dark out here. That apparently opened the floodgates because he just went on this long spiel rambling about the situation, going in circles and answering his own rhetorical questions, not pausing long enough for anyone else to speak. I started to pull back the way I came, and he eventually quieted down. It was silent for a second, and I think he caught on to what he was doing. We started talking about the city, normal stuff you'd likely talk about when meeting someone new. He quickly cooled out and settled his nerves and relaxed, which was a huge relief. As we were chatting and headed back, my gas light came on, and so I pulled into a gas station a few blocks from our place now. Back in the city, still lively as ever. I parked at a pump, and both of them said that they needed to get something from inside. He hopped out and walked straight towards the door. My friend stepped out, but turned back into the car, digging through her purse to get her wallet. We kind of started laughing because it was still funny how the initial interaction went down, and we were both thinking it. Then, out of nowhere, some group of middle-aged women start scream laughing and hollering at me and my friend in the car. I was confused at first, but then one of the women said, "You're wrong as hell." My friend turned around and said, "What?" The women kept laughing and pointing at the guy we'd picked up. He hadn't made it inside yet, and the woman said, "How the hell you let this man out the house looking like that?" They were hysterical about his get-up, the weirdly fashioned clothing he had on. He didn't acknowledge them at all, but I could see from where I was how bright red his face was. It was super awkward and a little uncomfortable, but he kept going and went inside. The group of women dissipated, then my friends started to head into the gas station. I was texting on my phone now, alone in the car for a moment. I hadn't gotten out yet to pump gas, but as I was texting, I had this super weird feeling in my gut that just said, "Lock your doors." I didn't know why I responded so quickly, but I'm glad I did. I reached over and locked my doors, looked around the lot, and went back to texting. Next thing you know, someone pulls on my door handle. I looked up, and whoever it was just kept walking. Like they didn't just pull my door handle. Before I could even think, he had already walked past my car and was approaching the car in front of me, one at a different pump. There wasn't anyone in the driver's seat, and the car door was unlocked, gas still pumping in their car. I figured that maybe he'd accidentally pulled my car door handle thinking it was his car and just realized his mistake and got in his own car. But I soon realized that wasn't his car at all. Some lady comes running out of the gas station hollering, Hey, that's my car. What are you doing?" I hear the car engine start up, and he takes off full speed into the road. He barely misses hitting someone walking their dog and nicks the curb, catching a little air. The lady continues screaming obscenities, running after the carjacker. But he doesn't slow down even for a second. He flies diagonally across the lanes of traffic and goes straight into the on-ramp for the interstate. Tires screeching. I'm watching the car zooming away, then, wham, the guy wrecks straight into a power electrical box on the edge of the ramp hard. Sparks and lights exploded from the impact. Then smoke billows out. By then, both my friends are back at the car, staring at the incident. I see them and unlock the doors they hop in, asking what in the hell is going on. I don't get gas and take off right away. I could get gas somewhere else. We decided that getting gas wasn't urgent and that it could wait until tomorrow. So we just headed back to our place. Now mind you, I'm fresh out of high school in a new town with no roots, just trying to make things work. Plus, we'd only just moved to town no more than 4 weeks ago. So we were renting out a 2-bedroom unit in a trailer park at that time. When we got there, the guy kept going on and on about how cool it was that my friend and I had just moved to town and didn't really know anyone. He said we were the coolest people he'd ever met and went overkill with the compliments. He also kept mentioning how nice it must be that my friend and I were living on our own, just the two of us. At a certain point, I couldn't tell if he was just genuinely hyped and couldn't contain his excitement, or if he was subtly fishing for details, like who else might be living with us, or who even knew we were here at all, until it started to feel more like some weird way of checking whether anyone would even notice if we, I don't know, went missing or something. Like that was the vibe it gave off, kind of. It still felt like a stretch to be thinking that way. Anyway, when we got to the door, my friend and I walked inside first like we always did. Then we turned to face him. Admittedly, it was kind of a weird thing. We did like an insider's joke between us that we felt compelled to do whenever we had a new guest over. The two of us would just stand there and wait to see if the guest would follow us in or if they'd needed an invitation. Vampire rules or whatever. We knew it was dumb, but it sort of became our little thing. This guy totally picked up on our odd mannerisms because he gave this half smile kind of what the hell look as he stepped up and into the trailer. Both of us cracked up laughing as soon as he stepped in, which startled him. He jumped back, missing his footing, and fell straight out the door into the grass. He got right back up and laughed at himself. He said he was fine, it wasn't a bad fall. I guess it exasperated him a bit because he got super hyperactive and was talking so fast he couldn't keep up with his own words, stuttering and umming and all that. I couldn't get a word in and gave up trying. I just grab a 6-pack of Colt 45s out of the fridge and toss him one. He catches it but tosses it back because he slips off his backpack and pulls out a big ass can of Four Loko, the purple can. I winced and said, "You hot," then offered him some ice. He just laughed, then cracked it open. I went in for a cheer, but he had something else in mind. He turns the Loko upside down and shotgunned the whole thing in seconds. Me and my friend just stood there looking at him in disbelief. He doesn't say a word, just reaches in for another one, teal this time, and does it again. 2 whole-ass, hot-ass cans of 4 fucking Lokos. Down the hatch. He cracks open a third, and I have to practically beg the dude not to smash a third one. Not yet. He obliged, thankfully. My friend suggested we play a game of charades on her iPhone. Basically, one person just holds the phone to their forehead and everyone else has to act out whatever the screen tells us to and try to get them to guess whatever it is. So we play. She goes first. The card she draws says, "Secret Agent." He almost leaps at her from excitement and says, "Oh dude, I got this." I guess he didn't know how to play because he glances at the door, starts pacing, then says in this really low, grunting kind of voice, "Aha, so it's come to this." I said, "You've got to act it out." He just starts rambling. My friend is hysterical at this point, laughing herself into tears. I just shook my head and added, "You're not supposed to talk." But I don't think he understood. He doesn't slow down. He goes, "Did you guys lock the door when we came in?" She's still laughing, thinking he's playing it over the top, but he stays dead-ass serious, leans in close to her ear, like he's going to whisper the answer. But instead he says, "I can't say it." You know I can't say that. He was really getting into character, which sort of got weirdly childlike in a way, pretty quickly. The funny thing just got overdone, but he was not catching the clues. Even after mine and her faces were blank, he just turns to me and says, "I didn't think they'd send one of you. I'm not acting, just him." I look at my friend, and she is still holding the card to her forehead. We just shrug and decide to go with it. Why not, no biggie? So we just cooled it and let him do whatever the hell he was doing. He walks back up to where we were sitting, straightens his invisible necktie and says, "I need to know who briefed you." Just blink twice. Then he starts scanning the ceiling, puts his hand on the light fixture and turns to her and says, "Don't move, you're bugged." We both start to laugh, but he doesn't join in. No, he runs behind her and starts patting down her back like he's searching for wires. She tries to move away, but he screams, "Stop!" Like he sounded so serious. I kind of tense up a little and stand up. He waves a hand at me and says, "Don't make this harder. Now it's not just awkward. It's gone full on unnerving, like almost creepy." So I say, "Dude, come on, man. What are you doing? It's just charades." But he won't let it go. He kneels next to the couch, pulls a pen out of his backpack, unscrews it and peers inside. Holds it to his mouth and says, "Test failed. Subject unaware. Requesting extraction." Then he looks up at me like I'm supposed to respond and give him approval for his request. I feel my blood get hot and I'm ready to tackle this guy. Like, what the hell was he planning to do with that pen? I set my drink down, and as soon as I do, she says, "A spy, a secret agent." And I say, "Oh, what the fuck?" Because now I feel like I'm the one with the skewed reality. I don't move. I don't even know what to do at this point. She asks if she got it right. He just nods, stands up real slow and stares at the door. I ask what he's looking at, and he says, "You guys don't hear that." Then he puts the pen back in his bag, grabs another, Four Loko, then sits down cross-legged in the middle of the room and doesn't say another word. I get up to use the bathroom, and my friend steps out to smoke. Before I go in, I look at him and say, "You good?" But he doesn't respond. So I head into the bathroom, and almost immediately after I get my stream flowing, there's a knock at the door. Instinctively I say, "Just a minute," and he replies, "No, it can't wait." He then proceeded to open the door and tries to slip into the bathroom, but I lean still pissing and push the door back. He gets sandwiched in the threshold and starts squirming. I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?" And all he says is, "Don't flush." Then steps out of the doorway and closes the door back. At that point, I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with this guy? I finish up. Of course I flush, and I immediately hear bumping around outside the door. I open it, and he's now pacing in the living room, clearly upset. I ask, "What the hell is going on? Do you need to use the bathroom or something?" He says he does, so I tell him it's free. I also ask, "Is something upsetting you?" And he says, "Yeah, I heard you flush." I'm like, "Dude, what the hell? What was that even about?" He just puts his head down and goes to the bathroom. He's in there for like 10 minutes. My friend comes back from smoking and asks where he is, so I start explaining the best I can since I'm still confused. Then we hear the toilet flush. He walks out, immediately stands there staring at us. We're staring back. The vibe is just weird. Then he said, "Can you take me home?" and told him I wasn't going to drive. So he demands I order him an Uber. We go back and forth in this awkward, whiny argument. Not aggressive, just weird and super annoying. Eventually, I ordered it. When the Uber shows up, he grabs his stuff and heads to the door. We say, "All right, man." And just before he leaves, he turns. The knob looks back at us over his shoulder. Kind of joking, I say, "Watch your step, man." He does not think it's funny. As he walks out, he says, "I'm upset because I wanted to drink your pee." Then he slams the door. Me and my friend are just standing there in complete disbelief. We didn't say anything for a minute, just kind of sat there, letting that sentence marinate a bit longer. Eventually, my friend goes, "Did he actually just say that?" And I'm like, Yeah, he did. We haven't talked to him since. And now I always lock the bathroom door, every time.